Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Footy Accumulators Betting Show. I'm Will Perry, and the other two catwalk models on the screen, Alan McInally, former Bayern Munich and Aston Villa striker, and the long-suffering Preston North End fan, our betting expert, James Vickers. So, guys, Bayern won the Klassiker. Alan, have your old boys won the Bundesliga title?
Yeah, it looks like it. I thought I did say they'd maybe win 2-1 or certainly by the odd goal. I thought Dortmund did well. They had a couple of really good opportunities. And showed they're still certainly one of the better teams in the Bundesliga. They've got some really good players, but I did say that I think the quality and experience that Bayern have got, I think certainly as the game went on, I thought Bayern became stronger and stronger as Dortmund had to try and push. Certainly majority of possession Bayern had, and the goal was an absolute peach. It's come from. I mean, I actually said that I thought was it Goretzka? I thought might get a goal, but Kimmich is not known for goals, but it was just so good. A lot of people have had a bit of dig at the goalkeeper. I think they maybe could have done better, but it was a spell in the game where Bayern were pushing for the goal, and it was a lovely time to score and a great, massive points. I think psychologically that would probably put Dortmund in their place in second, and Bayern will go 8 in a row.
Yeah, we talk about that goal, James. I mean, that's a striker's instinct, isn't it? From a guy who's played a lot at right back and playing in midfield now. But Joshua Kimmich, really interesting, actually, because Thomas Muller said afterwards that was something they were keeping an eye on, that Roman Bürki plays quite far off his line. And that was a plan and that was perfectly executed by Kimmich.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Alan. Seen quite a few pops at the keeper, but I think Bürki on his day is probably second, if not third best goalkeeper in the Bundesliga. So it's hard to sort of point the finger solely at him. What a finish it is by Kimmich. And for all the talent that Bayern have in those offensive areas, I think Kimmich could be one of the last people in that midfield and offensive line that you'd expect to do that. So I can see why Bürki wasn't expecting the shot, but, that's that attention to detail that we've talked about with Hansi Flick over recent weeks and, proved to be the decisive moment in the game.
James,
Will, I was going to say it was like a Vincent Kompany moment when they went, "Don't you dare shoot!" Okay, brilliant, fantastic, brilliant. But it just shows you as well when Thomas Muller's come out and said that the process that Hansi Flick's put in everybody's mind there by thinking if we can get behind Hummels because he's obviously not the quickest, then Dortmund have said the goalkeeper needs to be a little bit here because the ball's played through and Lewandowski or Alphonso Davies or whoever it is gets in behind, then the goalkeeper needs to be there first. So that's something that he knows that they've thought about and just brought it to everybody's attention that just be very careful. The goalkeeper might be trying to cheat a little bit and that one might always be on. Regardless of that, it was a wonderful goal.
Yeah, wonderful goal. James, you're the Dortmund man. Did you expect them to put up a bit more of a fight? They started really well, obviously lost Erling Haaland later in the game, but did you expect more from them?
Yeah, well, I expected more. I think on the show last week I said that wide battle would be key, and how well did Alphonso Davies play for someone playing in, I think, his second Klassiker, to keep Hakimi at bay the way he did and Torgan Hazard on that side. Performance sort of beyond his years, considering he's only 19 years old. I think he was one of the best players on the pitch, and for a player that they signed predominantly as a winger, for how well he's adapted to that left-back position. Granted, in a Bayern team that obviously you expect to win each week, but he's shown it in the Champions League against Dortmund, against a better quality opposition, just how good he is. And I think that went a long way to neutralising Dortmund. I think at half-time when Julian Brandt came off, it kind of neutralised that attacking threat that Dortmund had as well. And it was more or less plain sailing from Bayern there. There wasn't really too much of a Dortmund defensive threat in the second half. I think Jadon Sancho is going to take a few weeks to get back to full fitness. He still doesn't look 100%. And yeah, Bayern probably did deserve to shade it. There was obviously that handball or potential handball that VAR could have had a look at, but, they're sort of small margins. And I think at the end of the day, with sort of my Dortmund hat on as well, I think Bayern probably did do enough to win the game, which pains me to say, but yeah, unfortunately, that's just the way it goes.
Can I ask you two guys a question? Because I don't know whether, Will, you're going to ask me this, but it's the first time I've actually thought this of all the games so far. Do you think the no crowd situation played a part in a game like this?
Yeah,
you know that was exactly what I was going to ask you. I mean, look, James, it's crazy. We were saying before we came on, weren't we, today? I got the calculator out and worked it out. I think it's 5 home wins out of 27 games since the Bundesliga restarted. It's gone out the window, hasn't it? Home advantage.
It's the first time. Sorry, James. I just want to really briefly, as I was sitting watching the game, and you just said something, James, answering Will's question about, Dortmund did, they did quite well, but there was a couple of spells in the game where Bayern seemed to be just have that little bit too much. And when I was watching the game and we got to about 60 minutes, 65 minutes, I was thinking, Bayern are having a result and a half here because there's nobody in the stadium. And I think it's games like that certainly, if you've ever been to the stadium at Westfalen or the Signal Iduna, they really do suck the ball into the net, and they would have made Dortmund go more at Bayern, I think. And I just think it's the first time watching all the games so far that I've thought, this needs a crowd. It needs a crowd to make it the Klassiker, if you know what I mean. And I just thought it played right into Bayern's hands. And the thing for Dortmund almost petered out a little bit, I think, which was the only disappointing thing for me. But then again, we're thankful just to have the games on, I suppose.
Go on, James.
Yeah, I completely agree with Alan. I think the last few Klassiker meetings that I've watched between Dortmund and Bayern, Dortmund always seem to do better second half when they're attacking the yellow wall. And there was really that first half they did well. Should have probably got a goal from the sort of the offensive play that they had in that first half. There was a couple of half chances that on another day could have gone in, and just attacking that yellow wall in the second half with the lack of fans there just really sort of neutralised it. I think Bayern defended superbly. I can't take that away from them, but I think as you mentioned, Alan, if that crowd would have been there, I've been lucky enough to sit on the yellow wall a few times, and what an incredible atmosphere it is sort of on match days on the big occasions. And you look at Dortmund's recent history with the big games where they've got big results, and it's always been attacking that yellow wall in the second half. So definitely I think that played into it.
Yeah, just before we move on, guys, because James, you mentioned him there, but Alphonso Davies, Alan, surely the best left back in the world right now, 19 years old. Amazing to think that he came from Vancouver Whitecaps and has just made that berth his own. And also what it's done to David Alaba. David Alaba moving to that left centre-back position, sort of completely organising the team. But, I mean, put your striker hat back on. He's a nightmare to play against Davies, isn't he?
Oh, well, listen, my missus is Canadian. I spend a lot of time in Calgary. So I already knew about him way before he went to Bayern. With the boys that run the football team in Calgary called the Cavalry. And there is actually a Canadian Premier League now. And they actually played against Vancouver a couple of times and actually tried to get Alphonso Davies, believe it or not. But he was just going to be so good. And scouts all over Europe were already interested in him. And when the boy went originally, it was pretty tough for him, as you can imagine. I mean, Germany's not exactly just across the street, is it? And struggled a little bit. And James is right. They bought him as a winger. He always was a winger, but he has pace to burn, genuinely. But then again, he goes into a football team that are, have the best players in the world, the best coaches, the best scenario, the best medical help. And they've really formed them, but formed them really quickly and changed the position. Because nowadays, of course, in modern day football, a fullback can sometimes be a wing back. And certainly the way Bayern play, it's brilliant for Alphonso Davies. More importantly, for David Alaba, who incidentally has played in the middle of the park, believe it or not. He's also played as a midfield player. I think his best position's one of the centre-backs. He's not 6 feet something, but he's quick, David Alaba as well. And he's very left-sided. And it suits Bayern down to the ground at the moment. But the boy Alphonso Davies can be anything he wants. And I mean anything. Because the boy is not just fast, but he's a good football player. And he's actually a little underrated. Can I say that with all the plaudits he's been getting? But he's a good football player. But I've known about him for, oh my goodness, must be 5 or 6 years I've known about Alphonso Davies, and Bayern were the ones that got.
It is interesting, isn't it, when you think, James, as well? I mean, look, I'm just thinking Liverpool and the fullbacks they've got who are exceptional, in Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson. But not many other Premier League teams have that sort of attacking fullback power. And, you look at the two teams, the two big guys in Germany, Guerrero and, of course, Hakimi playing at right back and then getting forward as much as the guys at Bayern do. It's potent, those fullback positions.
Definitely, yeah. And there was an interesting interview with Alphonso Davies after the game as well, where he was saying, well, they were talking about obviously his turn of pace to get back and make those recoveries and interceptions, which he did so well in the game. But he sort of answered that question with, while obviously he's blessed to have that pace, he doesn't want to be known as that player who's caught out of position and has to get back with his pace. So there's that real sort of mentality there that he wants to get better at his defending. Even though he came in as a winger, as Alan said, he's not content with being a winger playing left back. He wants to really master the left back position, and I think that's only going to serve him and Bayern, well in the future. But yeah, as I said, I think Bayern, that was the key area, the fullbacks who like to bomb on, and Bayern, unfortunately for Dortmund and myself, won sort of that battle, and that went a long way to this.
Yeah, right. So as I mentioned before, 5 home wins out of the 27 games since the Bundesliga restarted. 2 on match day, 28 with Fortuna Düsseldorf and Hoffenheim winning on their home patch. So here are the results from midweek. Bayern and Wolfsburg winners on Tuesday. Draws in the games between Frankfurt and Freiburg and Werder Bremen and Mönchengladbach. Düsseldorf and Hoffenheim picked up 3 points on Wednesday, with everyone else drawing. So with 6 games to go for everyone apart from 2 sides, the table looks like this. Bayern Munich 7 points clear of Dortmund, who are in the Champions League spots, with Leipzig and Borussia Mönchengladbach. Leverkusen and Wolfsburg in the Europa League positions. Really interesting, though, guys, down the bottom. Paderborn look out of it, don't they, now? But Werder Bremen still very much in with a shout. Second bottom, 5 points off Fortuna Düsseldorf, who, of course, won midweek in the relegation playoff place. And then Mainz, Leverkusen, Mainz, Frankfurt, Union Berlin and Augsburg not out the woods, just above them. Just a word, Alan, on probably more exciting now down the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got it in front of me. I think you're right. Well, I think Paderborn are gone. I think they've scored one goal in 3 games. So that's a problem for them, obviously. Bremen have popped up with a couple of good performances after a stinker of a start. Dusseldorf had a wonderful result after being 1 down to Schalke and won the game 2-1. And then obviously Mainz, Frankfurt, Union Berlin and Augsburg. So they're all in it for sure. Of those I've just mentioned, I'm not really that worried about Union Berlin. I thought they were a little unlucky not to even sneak the game with 10 men against Mainz yesterday. I think it was yesterday. But it's probably, unfortunately, because Bayern look as if they've done and dusted it now. There's a little, I suppose, a scrap for 6th place, but certainly the bottom, as is normally in some of the big leagues, looks almost more exciting.
Yeah. So, guys, we messed up our Acca again, which we'll come to shortly. We're not having much luck with this.
By the way.
I don't think we all did, didn't we? But right, let's start with the nap challenge. Pro versus punter. James, you're still leading Alan 2-1 because you both failed this week. James, you picked Leipzig to beat Hertha Berlin over 2.5 goals as well.
Yeah, I was getting ready. We were saying off air, I was getting ready to come on and gloat after the sort of first set of games where Leverkusen, who Alan backed, I'm sure he'll talk about them in a second, went down 4-1 at home. So I was thinking Leipzig at home, put 5 past Mainz at the weekend. I'm going to go 3-1 up and I'm going to be sat here looking dead smug. Obviously, Leipzig dropped points. Hertha were very, very good. I was really impressed with them, which I've been since the restart. I think Labadia has really got them playing a certain brand of football that's going to serve them well over the long term. And they just look fitter than every other team. I don't know what work he's done in training, but out of teams that you'd expect to outrun them, counter them quickly, there's just that extra level that they seem to be at the moment. And looking at their form guide as well, I think they're 6th or 7th in the form guide in the whole league, and they're slowly climbing up the table. So Hertha, not a team to be taken lightly. Unfortunately, yeah, it did cost me on last week's bet, but hopefully I can go one better this week and make it 3-1.
And that screwed up our Acca as well, which we'll come to later. No one can gloat this week, can they? Alan, you went Leverkusen. I mean, what a result that was for Wolfsburg.
Can I just say that 86% of people went for Leverkusen. I mean, considering they started battering 4 goals past Bremen, and then they beat Gladbach, which was a huge game, incidentally, when you think Gladbach are in 3rd, 4th, well, they're in it, or were then. And then go and play Wolfsburg, who beat Augsburg on the 91st minute and played okay, nothing fantastic, and then going, it was just incredible. It really was. It just showed. I mean, I'm not saying that if a crowd had been there, it'd been any different. I thought for the first time Leverkusen looked a little leggy or vulnerable. I don't know the right word to use, but they were superb. They were absolutely superb, Wolfsburg, and deserved to beat them. So I'm going to desert Leverkusen for the next couple of weeks for sure.
Right, James, what are you going then for this week's nap challenge?
Oh, I've gone for Hertha to beat Augsburg. As I said, Hertha, that really good draw against Leipzig. What they've got going for them at the moment, which they haven't had in recent years, is strength in depth. You know, you look at the likes of Piontek and Dilrosun, who came off the bench and really sort of transformed the game. Kuna as well. Alan mentioned him last week. Been absolutely fantastic since the restarts. I've always had sort of a bit of doubt over him, whether he can sort of do it on a consistent basis. On his day, he's absolutely fantastic, a real flair player, but whatever Labadia is doing in training with him at the moment, he's replicating that on a week-by-week basis at the moment. So Hertha going very well at the moment. I think Augsburg, 5 defeats in 6 away games, so don't travel well. Hertha coming off the back of a good run so far since the restart, 2 wins and a draw, and that draw being against Leipzig. So a fantastic point to get away from home, which I don't think many, including myself, expected. So I've gone with Hertha. I think odds are 5 to 6, so 5 on that will get you about £9.15, £9.16 back. So decent odds, considering I expect them to win. And yeah, hopefully that is the one that sort of picks me up the win this week to go through and up against Alan.
Right, Hertha for James. Alan, what you fancy?
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to make us all wait till Monday, and I'm going to go with Leipzig. I know they drew with Hertha, which is obviously James's choice, but I'm going to go Leipzig on the Monday. I mean, Köln have done all right, a win, a draw, and a defeat, but I just quite like Leipzig. I thought they played pretty good. I think Julian Nagelsmann's he's a good coach, and you know the boy Timo Werner and the boy who's the guy, I forgot his name now. Come on, Schick, who got a goal at the weekend. The boy they got from Roma. I like to see that. You know, once they start getting their shooting boots back on again, and I think they'll have lots of chances. I've watched a couple of Köln games and they've been okay, but not. They don't really have anybody that's bursting to look as if they're going to end up playing in the top 4 or 5. Really, a couple of decent players, but nothing fantastic. I think Leipzig will simply have too much for them. And I'm going to go Leipzig. I know they'll be short, but I'm still going to make us wait for our Acca till Monday evening.
4 to 7, Leipzig.
That'll do. That's still not bad, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. Hertha for James and Leipzig for Alan, who's looking to level it up for the NAP Challenge so far this season. Right, guys. In terms of the match in focus this week, and just a reminder of the fixtures, of course, Leverkusen Freiburg was Friday night. Saturday, Mainz Hoffenheim, Schalke Werder Bremen, Hertha Berlin Augsburg on Saturday as well, along with Wolfsburg Frankfurt and Bayern Munich taking on Fortuna Düsseldorf. And then on Sunday, Mönchengladbach taking on Union Berlin, Paderborn Dortmund, and Monday night Cologne against Leipzig, which has already been picked in the NAP Challenge. Our match in focus, though, this week, James, we've gone for Schalke against Werder Bremen, because so many people, including us, have bigged up the job that David Wagner has done at Schalke since leaving Huddersfield, and such a great start to the season, but it really has tailed away, hasn't it? No win in their last 12 in all competitions, 6 defeats in the last 7 in all comps. What's going on at Schalke, James?
Well, I think at the moment, Schalke, they've got a really weird balance in the team. I think the goalkeeping situation is really not helping them. Alex Nubel, who is their first choice, has been left out of the side because he's signed a pre-contract with Bayern Munich. So as a principle, they're not playing him. They've put in Schubert, who is a good keeper, just looks extremely shot on confidence at the moment. He gave away 2 sort of really big errors to lead to Dortmund goals in the derby a few weeks back. And then over the last couple of weeks, he's just made sort of mistake after mistake. And I think Schalke would be good to take him out of the spotlight for a week or 2, put Nubel back in, but I just can't see them doing that. So they kind of architected their own downfall at the moment. I think the actual defence that they've got isn't too bad. Same with the midfield. They do well sort of on the ball. Weston McKennie, we've talked about a few times, very good player. Suat Serdar as well. In midfield has come in and done well for them in that first half of the season in particular. And then you get into the forward areas where I think they're real sort of worries for them. I think looking back over the last results, the last forward who scored for them, to check my notes, was Rahman, who scored in a 2-1 defeat to Leverkusen, and that was on the 7th of December. So to have no strikers scoring in this calendar year and going back to sort of the start of December, you know, alarm bells have got to be ringing there. Bottom of the forward table, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bremen went to Schalke this weekend and got a point, let alone a win from the game. Bremen, that first game back against Leverkusen, were absolutely appalling. The defending at times was comical, but whatever Florian Kohfeldt has done in training in the week since, they look a lot harder to beat. They look a lot more compact defensively, and I think he's taken them back to basics. So for a Schalke team who struggled to score and a Bremen team who've got 2 clean sheets in a row against decent opposition, I don't expect there'll be a lot of goals. I was actually having a look through. I've had quite a lot of success in recent weeks away from the Accas because playing games is a lot harder to call at the moment. So
because that's the only way you can win any money, by not following us.
Exactly, yeah. So I've had a look. A little bet builder that I put together was under 1.5 goals, which I expect to happen. Rashica to score for Bremen and Bremen to win is 39-1, which for what I've just said and how I expect the game to go, massive odds. So I'm tempted to put something on that. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. Wouldn't be surprised at all if Bremen get something from the game. And I think Schalke at the moment, unfortunately for them, is the only ways down.
And Alan, a couple of things to remember. Schalke last time out at home thumped, weren't they, 3-0 by Augsburg. And when you look at Werder Bremen, who are just so hard to work out what you're going to get week in, week out with them, 4 points in their last 2 games, but sniffing that at least that playoff place with Fortuna Düsseldorf, of course, winning last time out.
Yeah, 5 points now. It was a bit of a blow for Bremen with Düsseldorf winning last night. But I do agree with James. I think if there's a team at the moment in time that you would stay clear of, it's Schalke. They just look just disjointed and sort of devoid of ideas. And the boy Weston McKennie actually scored a goal, and I've been speaking about him. I do quite like him. He's neat and tidy. But you can keep the ball from the middle of the park, but it's the final third that's where the business end is done. If you watch good teams, apart from moving the ball quick, they hurt people. They either go in behind you. I don't see that when I watch Schalke at all. And the fact that they've had 1 goal in 3 games and got pretty well easy defeats rather for their opposition. Schalke have just been all over the place. It's one I would stay well clear of because you can't. Even if somebody gave me 2s or 3s Schalke, you couldn't take them. Maybe if the crowd were there with a little bit of that behind, that might sway me. But Werder Bremen, I think, have looked so much more organised. And if your defence is doing all right and you can get your striker to nick you a goal, then that might just be the case. I don't think it'll be one of the games I'll be watching, if you know what I mean, for 90 minutes because there's a lot of games on. But I'm with James. I simply wouldn't be surprised if it finished 2-0 Werder Bremen for the simple reason that Schalke have just looked. But incidentally, I've just a quick look. They're in 9th place with 37 points. Looks fantastic. It really does. And boy, is it a good job that their form at the start of the season was so good. Because if it hadn't been, then they'd be 14th, 15th, 16th place the way they've been playing. And they need to get their finger out. I like David Wagner. Looked miles away from the middle of the table or future top 6 for Schalke because they're a team with a stadium and a support that you expect them, to be honest, to be pressing for Europe. Yeah,
just a reminder of some odds then. Schalke for the home win, 7-5. Werder Bremen for that away victory, 19-10, 23-10. The draw as well. You mentioned a few players in that sort of bet you put together there, James. But in terms of first goal scorer odds, Weston McKennie is 8-1. First goal scorer, 3-1 anytime. Davy Selke for Werder Bremen, 11-2. Rashica, who we mentioned as well, 11-2 first goal scorer. As a first goal scorer, I know you put that bet together there, but what stands out for you, James?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be looking sort of too far past any of the Bremen forward line, to be honest. I think Josh Sargent, Milo Rashica, the pace that they have in behind, I expect Schalke to have a bit more of the ball. And I think Bremen will sit and wait for their time on the counter-attack as they did quite well against Gladbach, which even though the game finished 0-0, there was chances there for them to win that game. So first goal scorer, I'd be looking more so towards Bremen, I guess. Rashica, Sargent, all good odds. Schalke, if I was to go for a Schalke player, it'd be one of the midfielders or defenders at the moment. As me and Alan mentioned, that forward line just don't look like scoring. They're chopping and changing it sort of week in, week out. You don't know if Gregoritsch is going to play up there, who's more of a number 10. You don't know if Bergstaller is going to play up there. And then again in the wide areas. So Schalke are yet to find that sort of formula that's going to get them a few goals in the offensive areas. So if I was to go with Schalke, McKennie, as you mentioned, Will, good price for someone who's got, I think, 2 in his last 6. from midfield. But yeah, if I was going for first goal scorer, I'd be more tempted to sway towards Bremen with just how I expect the game to go.
Yeah, you said good odds. Josh Sargent, 13-2. What about John Joe Kenny on loan from Everton from a corner? That's a nice one, isn't it? If you're going for a defender, 33-1. Right, guys, let's move on to our Acca if we have to. 0 from 3. We're not a great team, are we? Frankfurt, Leverkusen, Augsburg, and Leipzig. We went last week. We got that 9-1 boosted from 15-2 by Paddy Power. We're going to boost our bet this week as well. Look, we've discussed it already. I mean, I went Augsburg just purely on that win at Schalke, and they were held to a goalless draw. And Leverkusen, the result was just a stunner, wasn't it, in the Bundesliga? Let's put last week's behind us. Move on to this one. We can't not go Bayern and Dortmund, can we, with who they're playing this week? So I'm going to kick us off and say the Acca for the first one this week. We're going to go for a Dortmund win. Away at Paderborn, which is I think 3-10. We're not going to put any handicap on it because I don't think we're in a position to get fancy, are we? So I'm going Dortmund to kick us off. You happy with that?
I take it Haaland won't play, James, because he seemed to limp off near the end of the Bayern game, didn't he?
Yeah, he went off. He sort of, from camera shots of him stood on the touchline, had his knee bandaged up. So I don't know if he's took like a dead leg or a knock to the knee. He sort of went down quite innocuously after the ball had gone out of play from a cross. So he might have felt something and gone down. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. They've not come out and said that he's going to be out for an extended period of time. But I think with the game in midweek, then this game, it's probably a game too soon for him. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if someone like Mario Götze or Gio Reyna started in that forward area as a number 10 and brought the wide players into the game, which they have done sort of before Haaland signed in January. So, yeah, I don't think he'll play. So, yeah, if you were looking to put sort of first goal scorer bets on Dortmund, yeah, stay clear of him at the moment.
Also, Witzel and Chan came on, didn't they? They came on as subs. So I just think they'll have far too much Dortmund. I know they're 3-10, but Paderborn rooted at the bottom. I can't see them getting anywhere near Dortmund, to be honest. So, yeah, I'm happy with you going with them, Will, for sure.
I tell you what, just be careful what you put on TikTok on the subject of Mario Götze, because apparently that was the final straw, wasn't it, in his Dortmund contract. Been told he can leave at the end of the season. Put that little TikTok, which everyone's done. I just flick the switch, and then your girlfriend suddenly wearing your clothes and you're in a dress. So just be careful, Alan.
Right. Sorry, I'm a moan. All I've got is her. That's it. That's all I've
got. Go on then, Alan. What do you fancy? So I'm going Dortmund.
Yeah, I'm going to go Leipzig in the Monday evening against Köln. Köln have done okay, but they're not strong, as strong certainly as Leipzig. I quite like Leipzig. They score plenty of goals and look as if they like to go forward as well. And they will be a half decent price. They'll be odds on, but they'll be way too strong. And of course, they need to keep the pressure on. With Dortmund getting beaten, all of a sudden, they're in third, a couple of points ahead of Gladbach, and they're only 2 points behind Dortmund now. So
could have gone second, couldn't they, if they'd won midweek?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a little bit disappointing, but of course they did only have 10 men at the end of the game. So even to get out unscathed to a certain extent with a more of a resurgent Hertha Berlin team, then you probably take the point. They'll be disappointed. So chance for retribution, and I just think they'll have way too much for Köln.
I'm getting excited already. You get me excited every week by the time we finish our Acca, and then it gets to sort of like 10 minutes into the game and I'm trying to cash out. Okay, so Dortmund and Leipzig. James, number 3, what you fancy?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my nap and go with Hertha. I talked about them earlier. They're looking really good form at the moment. Really now, there's an opportunity there with the teams above them. We've talked about Schalke, Wolfsburg. They had that great win at Leverkusen, but look a little inconsistent. So there's a real opportunity for Hertha to go and push into them European places if they put a run together. So I expect them to carry on unbeaten so far since the restart. And I think Augsburg, 5 defeats in the last 6 away games speaks for itself. Don't travel particularly well, and they're relying on home points to sort of keep them in mid-table at the moment. So, yeah, Hertha Berlin for me. Like you said, I'm not going to get fancy with caps or anything like that. I'm going to get back to basics and just pick a straight winner. So, yeah, Hertha for me.
Right, well, let's try and play it as safe as possible. Why don't we just go Bayern for our fourth one? But we'll have to put a handicap on it to make it interesting, won't we? Because I think just a straight Bayern win, just looking here, 1-12, that's not going to do anything for anyone, is it? So what about a -2 handicap on Bayern Munich at home to Düsseldorf?
Yeah, I think. Well, to be fair, I mean, what was the score? Was it 5-2 against Frankfurt? I think finished.
Yeah.
So Bayern at home. And the other thing is the handbrake's off with Bayern now. You know, the big games gone and past. They've passed that test. They've beaten Dortmund in Dortmund. So everything will be so much more relaxed. They still know that there's a couple of wins to be put in the bag. And I think they'll play nice and freely. They'll create loads of chances. I'd certainly be on Lewandowski to score at any time. I think he'll get a couple of goals, Lewandowski, at the weekend against Düsseldorf. I'm happy to go -2 well for sure.
Happy with that, James. So, yeah, -2 handicap for Bayern Munich. So we're going Dortmund, Hertha Berlin, Leipzig, and Bayern at -2, which is around, James, correct me if I'm wrong, 5-1. And we're hopefully going to get that boosted with Paddy Power to, what, 6 or 7 at least?
Well done, Paddy.
Right, fingers crossed. 4th time lucky. Guys, great to catch up with you. Hopefully next week we're talking about a successful Acca. And yeah, like I said, look, it may be done and dusted at the top. Who knows what could happen this week with some strange results, but certainly interesting, isn't it, when it comes to the relegation places and that playoff place as well. Have a good week, guys. Remember, if you're looking for additional stats and trends ahead of the Bundesliga this weekend, make sure you download the Footy Accumulators Betting Hub app. Give the smart Acca function a try. Remember, you've got to be 18 plus to gamble, and please gamble responsibly. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.